This segment is sponsored by Native Solar. Today we're discussing solar energy and getting real-life stories from longtime Native Solar customer Jim Trudeau. I'm also joined by John Lewis with Native Solar. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, I'm so excited for this conversation because we've got a lot of great information to cover. But I want to know a little bit about Native Solar, who you guys are and what you do.
Sure. So we are a firm that's been around for 14 years. We do everything from sales to installation to servicing. Even if we didn't install your system, we'll still service it. So we are kind of an all hands on deck situation.
Now, I know you guys are also very high in the game when it comes to customer service, and that is why our good friend Jim joined us today. You are, as I mentioned off the top, a longtime customer. I want to hear your story. Talk to us a little bit about why you switched to solar.
Well, we installed solar panels 7.5 years ago, and the primary reason, the real motivation was fossil fuels. Get away from fossil fuels to the extent that it's possible. And I believe in thinking globally and acting locally. So this is our way to be able to do something that helps. It had to be a practical choice. I did a return on investment analysis and did all of that and decided it would pay for itself in about 10 years. And after 7.5 years, it is on track to pay for itself completely in 10 years. As a result of that, in the last 7.5 years, my electric bill is zero. I've paid nothing to Austin Energy.
Wow, I will pick my job from the floor now. I think that is excellent. That's all great news. And I want to ask, if you have any information or extra tips that you could give to homeowners who are considering making the switch, because I am one of those. I'm heavily thinking about doing this.
Well, several of our friends have as a result of our experience, right? And I recommend Native because we've been working with them for 7.5 years. Nothing is ever perfect. It's really how the company that you're working with solves the problem. We didn't want to have somebody from out of town, fly by night, disappear, so Native Solar fit the bill. The recommendations to people who are thinking about doing this is do a lot of reading, do your research. A couple of subtle things. One of them is the solar panels are going to live longer than your roof. So you want to think about if your roof is getting old, or maybe you want to replace the roof along with this, and when we did that and put in a metal roof, which will last as long as the solar panels, as otherwise they've got to come down to put the roof back on. So that's something that people tend to not think of. Other than that, if you use a company like Native Solar, you've got somebody you can ask questions. You can get the education that you need about whether this makes sense. Everybody's situation is going to be different. The pitch of your roof, the angle, are you facing south? All of those things make a difference, and finding the answers to that can be a challenge. I'm a geek, so I had fun doing that. But when you've got somebody that you consult with, that's phenomenally valuable.
Now, speaking of someone to consult with, I've got someone right here. I want to ask, John, if you have anything to add to what Jim just beautifully described there.
Sure. I think the biggest thing to piggyback on is that Jim talked about education, asking the right questions and consulting. Education is a big part of what we do. Our goal is for homeowners to find out everything they need to find out so they can make the best decision for themselves and their homes.
Now, speaking of education, Jim, I'm going to come back to you and ask you to educate us on batteries and why you're making the switch with your solar system and batteries.
Well, 7.5 years ago when we did this, we made an informed decision to not put batteries on the system because we were going to rely on the grid. Then there was February, and it turned out that was, while an intelligent decision 7.5 years ago, the world has changed. I don't want to go through the experience. Without a battery backup, when power fails, the solar panels go offline. With a battery backup, there's a switch that will automatically take the system off the grid, and we will power the house from the battery. We'll only have critical circuits, but we sized the battery and made the choice to use Native for that because of our experience with Native, and we sized the battery to give us at least a couple of days of power if something like that happens again. Don't want to do that for the third time in my life.
Absolutely not, and I will be calling you if I run out of power because I know you're going to have it now. And John, is there anything else you want to add about batteries that folks need to know if they're watching and have other questions today?
Sure. We are super flexible in what we can offer to homeowners. So what Jim needs to power whenever the grid goes down may be different than what someone else needs to power. We can handle all of those needs, and so just give us a call and we'll be ready.
Excellent. Well, speaking of giving you a call, where do folks go for more information?
They can go to nativesolar.com to calculate your savings with solar, request a quote, and take your power back with Native Solar.
Love it. Guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
This segment is sponsored by Native Solar.